Welcome to the Fantasy Football Clown Show. I'm your host, the Fantasy Clown, along with Trader Dan. Welcome, Dan. How are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. Had a pretty good week of fantasy football this week, so I'm happy.
Well, good thing you did, because, man, I was doing my weekly tracker, and I feel like on every level, I lost, like, at every record from week 7 to week 8. I just kind of, like, I had one team that was 0-7 in week 7, and now that team is 0-8. I had 3 teams that were 3-4 in week 7, and now I have 3 teams that are 3-5 in week 8. Like, I feel like I just lost at every kind of step of the road in week 8, and those were redrafts that I was talking about. But I guess in theory, then my 6-1 team went to 7-1, so that's my real good redraft team. I've come away saying I had that 0-8 team in redraft, and I'm almost embarrassed to have that team. It's a best ball team with trades and roster moves, and I'm not good at the format. I haven't quite figured it out. Like, I haven't made any trades, and I'm not a big trader, so it's just kind of like. And now that it's 0-8, I don't really know even if it's like not worth doing anything with. Like, it just anything I make now trade wise, I feel like I'm just helping everybody else in the league, and it just doesn't.
Yeah.
It's just not even. It's just like, okay, let the thing ride out and just go with 0-8, and the fact that I have Justin Jefferson doesn't make any difference.
Right.
Like, it's just like, okay, I guess this is whatever it is. That's kind of how that team is. So I'm kind of baffled by that. But you had a good week, you think, overall in your fantasy leagues?
Yeah. I had a pretty good week, but it helps when you have Trey McBride in most of your leagues. So it was nice. It was nice. He pulled through, man. It was a pleasant surprise.
And as we're recording here today on Halloween, and the trade deadline has passed, and I guess when you talked about Trey McBride, what do you think that means going forward with Clayton Tune / Kyler Murray? I think we're going to see Clayton Tune this week, and then Kyler Murray next week. And what's that mean for Trey McBride?
Well, he when Ertz went down last year, he filled in, and McBride he had a couple big games. I don't think he's going to see 14 targets every game, but I think he's going to be a big part of their offense going forward. That was the talk in training camp over the summer that he's got to get more involved. And he was kind of slow out of the gate, but he was the number 1 tight end in the draft last year, and I think at some point he's going to flourish. So hopefully that was his breaking out, and hopefully he continues.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess we'll jump right into it. We have producer Brad told us that I had 6 trades this week, so it must be busy in my world. I hardly even remember the trades, but I'd be glad to get your insight. And then I know you made a couple of trades this week, and so once we get done with my trades, I just kind of want you to throw out what the trades that you made, and we'll try to kind of break those down as well. But if we bring up that first trade, I'll be anxious to hear what you think of it, and maybe what do you think of that one? Just out of the pickle boat.
Well, I think once you get your first, you're kind of getting back what you got into Drake London. I think every Drake London owner is kind of thinking the same thing. Is he going to break out? Is he not going to break out? Is he going to be the guy? Is he not going to be the guy? I think we're going to find out a lot more about Drake London if Tyler Heineke continues to play quarterback for him. I think he's the better quarterback out of the two, and I think that he will rely more on London, more on Pitts. I think their numbers will eventually go up. I really hope with the quarterback change that Bijan gets going. I mean, he's been one of the biggest, to me anyways, one of the bigger disappointments in the running back class this year as far as fantasy production. But we'll see. I like the trade because I think that, no matter what, you got your money back on him, plus a little. And, if Drake London ends up being great in that offense, good for the guy who made the trade, but you ultimately get another stab at it with, a third is, you can still pull nice talent in the third. Fifths are a little bit harder, but, you can still pull a nice pick out of the third and still upgrade your roster with that. So.
That's kind of what I was thinking. So I did make the trade before last week. I'm looking at the record, and I'm 5-11. This particular team has 2, 4, 5 first round picks in 2024.
Yeah.
So I felt like I was going to need some room on the roster, and it was kind of the way to. I mean, you can trade a pick or you can trade a player, and I thought players get hurt, picks don't get hurt. So this was a way for me to kind of continue pushing, doing it well, taking his draft capital for years to come, where he's not going to be able to replenish. And he's kind of at the point where if Drake London isn't a stud,
right,
then I've eliminated his a chance to replace in 24, 25, and now 26. Like, he's got to win with the trade. He's putting himself in a position to win with the trade. So that was my theory. And like you said, I felt like, okay, I had a mid first round pick, value in on him. Like that was acquisition cost. And I was looking to see, sometimes I don't like to have too many Falcon players. Like I don't like to be overexposed in one, in one.
Understandable. That's very understandable.
But I'm looking here and I don't have any Pitts and I don't have any Bijan. So that wasn't the issue per se here on this particular trade. But yeah, it was more a matter of, just looking here, and I'm 5-11 overall, so it's not a team that's going to go anywhere. I usually don't like to trade 22-year-old, 23-year-old receivers away, and I have Josh Downs, I have Romeo Dobbs, but I don't have a boatload of like this kind of player. So it's not like I'm selling a player that I have lots of replacements for. So it's a little bit of a hobnob, but. I guess I think doing it well got a value too. I just felt like I was maneuvering for a future, and five first round picks, I'll be able to get a receiver. Like I should be able to figure out one out of that mess, kind of thing.
Yeah, doing it well. He's a good fantasy football player. I play in a league with him. He's a go getter. He knows when he's got a chance. He knows it. He knows his fantasy football. So I think he. Looking out for his immediate interest, and it probably suits his team pretty well. So,
well, and he's 11-5, going in. So, I mean that.
Yeah.
But he's a little bit overexposed in that world because he's got Bijan. So, he's kind of loaded up on the Falcons.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
That's kind of what that was.
Heineke can change a lot of problems with that team. So we'll see.
Yeah. So tell me about this one. What do you think of?
Well,
this is a redraft league.
Okay.
So this is redraft.
I guess a lot of it depends on who your starting tight end is. I mean, I love Spears. I think we all were kind of in that same boat, thinking Henry was getting traded. Spears was going to be the guy. He was a really good pickup before the trade deadline. I was just actually reading an article that they had a trade on the table ready to okay it. The owner shot it down for Derrick Henry. Actually, I believe it was to go to the Ravens. And it got shot down final minutes. But, when you look at that, then, you got the number one running back on that team for tight end. It's probably redraft's probably one tight end, no premium.
It's one tight end, a redraft league. I needed to start Spears as my running back 2 last week. So it was kind of like, okay, I have no running back to start. Yeah. My options were going to be Keontae Ingram if I didn't make the trade for Spears. Yeah. And now Waller didn't amount to much with hindsight, but I also have Goddard. So for one spot, I had Waller, Goddard. And,
absolutely.
At some point, I was like,
you still play Goddard going forward, even over McBride's big game. I mean, that offense is just, it's incredible.
And that's what I kind of thought. Even if one of that guys gets hurt, I still have, and I did look at Waller and McBride had the same bye week. I was looking at kind of everything, and I'm like, I don't really think I need 3 tight ends and have 1 running back, this week. Like I need to get points.
Trade makes sense.
And actually, so now I have Javonte and Spears as my running backs and Keontae Ingram. So I have 3 running backs. Yeah. That's it, like on the whole roster. So I'm kind of like,
you need to make a move for running back.
Yeah, I probably still need to go get some more running backs.
Yeah.
But now I can't do that with a tight end because that's where I am. And so that was my theory on it. Like it was more of I try to draft the best player, draft the best player, draft the best player. But we get to this week 9, 8, 9, 10. I start to maneuver to balance the roster, especially in redraft, to say, okay, I need to make sure that I'm not, starting a bunch of screwballs and I would have had to, and that was the other thing is if I started McBride, which I may or may not have done, I would have had to bench Nico Collins. So that was
right.
It was one of them in the flex,
Right.
and then I had to start, Keandre Ingram, and I'm like, you know what, I can start Nico Collins, I can put Spears right in, and then if Derrick Henry gets traded, then I have a let's go player, I was kind of like, if he doesn't, then I still have an adequate RB2 to see where this thing goes. Now I'm 3-5. That's one of those 3 and 5. So I guess I kind of also felt like I had to maneuver a little bit, but yeah. So that was that. We'll look at the next one. Okay, here you go. Big trade.
Interesting. I mean, wow. Yeah, I mean, the Deontay Johnson, that within that offense, it's going to be hit or miss. I mean, he's going to put up decent numbers. I don't know that he puts up explosive numbers like he did, past few years when Big Ben was his quarterback. It just the offense just seems different now. So I do like getting rid of Deontay now. I think why you can still get some value for him, especially if it's not a team that you absolutely need him on. I think getting Hyatt in return. I mean, I know producer Brad, he's big on Hyatt. It just seems like he's not getting enough opportunity. But I think with time that does come, and that could be a steal there. And then when you're getting 2 firsts and 2 seconds, and Jonathan Taylor's a great football player, but I mean, they're giving Zach Moss the ball as well. They're not just handing the reins right over to Jonathan Taylor and saying, "Here, go get him." You know what I mean? They're dispersing the workload a little bit, and not that I think that's as a bad thing as far as real football goes. It kind of hurts for fantasy football, but you have 2 firsts, 2 seconds really for Jonathan Taylor, and small downgrade from Deontay to Hyatt. I think it's a great trade.
So this team is kind of a different animal. It's a 12-team league, right? I'm 3-5 in this league. I don't have these were 2 prime assets. We start 4 receivers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14 starters.
Huh?
The 14 times 12, just a ridiculously, big, big starting lineup, with 172, players starting every week. And when there's a bye, you need lots and lots of depth, right?
Yeah.
So, I've got players at my receiver like Kadarius Toney, Josh Downs, Nico Collins, and now the injured Kendrick Bourne were my starters. And I was starting screwballs like Braxton Berrios and Slayton along with Hyatt in my flexes. So, I mean, that was, what I had. I mean, it was kind of rough. Now, how I built the team is around 2 pretty solid tight ends. I have Hawkinson and Kittle starting at my tight ends. And then I have Irv Smith as kind of a third. So, I feel like I have, decent tight end room that's pretty good. And then my quarterback room, which would probably be no surprise to many people, has like Trevor and Sam Howell and Pickett. And, I've got Jimmy G, got some guys. And then I do have Will Levis on this team. So, as he played really well, I felt like, okay, so I have all this depth. And I thought, just adding some more first round picks as we go over the next couple of years. I think if somebody gets hurt, the good teams become bad teams pretty freaking quick in these. And so I thought, you know what? Wow, I think Sam Bunning's a great player. It doesn't matter how great you are if you get hurt.
He's a very active player.
Yeah, but if players get hurt, if you guys just get the injury bug, then you can't control where the pick gets.
Yeah, I'm in a league where a guy was first place last year. I mean, battling last place this year, and You know, as Justin Jefferson went down, Eckler went down. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? CeeDee Lamb started out a little slow, and it just
Well, and I don't think that makes a bad manager. It just means if you can clean out somebody's draft picks, you can really
exactly.
you can really control the narrative, and that's what And then I guess I always try to knock out positions. So like here, I feel like with Kittle and Hawkinson, and with Irv Smith, I've got tight end. I don't want to say knocked out, but I don't have to worry about that position really. Like I can get an injury, it's okay. Like I have more of where they came from type of thing. Mm-hmm. Quarterback, I can take a couple injuries, it doesn't matter. And I'm not even in terrible trouble at receiver with the Bourne injury, right? Because I have more of them. And as I get more picks, I'll have more of them. It won't matter. Like injuries won't matter. So that's kind of what's my theory. With
that deep, you're going to need it.
Yeah, starting 14. So, yeah, let's take a look at the next one. We have 6 of these things tonight. Oh, geez, this is a huge one. This is, I guess in that same league that the first trade was.
So really, I mean, Darnold, Sam White kind of played each other. Got Allen Robinson, Miles Sanders. But it surprised me you went after some of them older guys.
So my theory was, I really wanted to, and you would have probably cautioned me away from this. This was before last week.
Yeah.
I was really turning Pittman into Miles Sanders. I needed running backs.
Yeah.
And I had receivers to burn. And I thought, oh, Sanders is coming back healthy. At least I can get I can have an RB2 out of this mess. And then I have Ingram as just kind of, in case it doesn't all work out, like I have some bonus stuff. And now as I'm sitting there, I have like extra players. Like I don't know what to do with them all. Like I have to cut players to even make my starts this week because I have too many players on the team. Right. I mean, I'm probably going to have to cut. I put Allen Robinson and Perry out there for any pick. So probably get like a 5th round pick, or else I have to cut them anyway. So they're kind of zeros. Maybe that 2025 second cleans him out of draft picks though, which is kind of nice. Like that. I don't know. I guess this was kind of like
where that trade pays off is if Sam Darnold becomes a starter. And I'm not thinking Brock Purdy's gonna lose his job. I know I talk to fantasy football players all the time, and they're all trying to get Sam Darnold because Brock Purdy's not going anywhere. He's going to be just fine.
Yeah,
even the games that he loses, I mean, he just makes some. I mean, he makes some incredible throws. He's young. This is really his last start of his first season. Really, if he were to start every game last year. But Darnold is if you do got Purdy, Darnold's a great pickup. To kind of handcuff him. But yeah, we talked about Miles Sanders last week, and I said, stay away from him. He's not their guy going forward. So I personally, I like the Pittman side of the trade. I think you got the best player in the deal, and then now you get handicapped with having to cut a couple of those guys. So really, you're kind of,
I mean,
stuck thinking, maybe having Pittman back would be better than a second and Miles Sanders who ain't going to play.
I guess at that point I'm 5-11 now, so I was 5-9, and I got 2 losses. I really was. As I looked here, I had to start Sanders from that, and I ended up that was the player I had to start. So I basically was going and getting Sanders because all I had was now he got 0 points, but I had Henderson and Sanders as my running backs, and then I had but
just in that 5-9 at the time, to me, I would be more or less. I'd take the young receiver because me, I'm more.
Oh,
give me my receivers, give me my quarterbacks, and then
I have Downs. So, would the fact that I have Downs would have that affected you? Like I always hate starting in 3 spots. I was starting Pittman and Downs as 2 of my 3.
Yeah, I mean, I start Jamar Chase and Higgins, and it is what it is,
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
I mean,
right. I mean,
talking Steph Diggs and Gabe Davis, he's as much as You're like, Terry McLaurin and Johan Dotson, the list goes on. Keenan Allen, Mike Williams.
So let me ask you this. I mean, I guess now I didn't realize about Miles Sanders, but my theory was Mike White for all the rest of the players, the second in Miles Sanders for Pittman. I'm like, okay, I need Pittman to start. Maybe I'll get lucky with Ingram. I actually thought he was better than the DeMario guy, but apparently not because they didn't play him. So I didn't freaking know. I'm like, one of them got to be a running back to play. That was my attitude, but apparently not. So I get it. I mean, bad trade in hindsight. I mean, I'll take the L there.
No sugarcoating that, buddy.
But even at the time, like I think sometimes I'm really good at being patient and not making trades. But this one I would agree with. Probably just went hasty and made a trade, traded for trading's sake. So yeah, you're right. I mean, I admit that. This one,
you've had quite a bit of trades with this gentleman,
all in the same league. So,
oh wow,
this one made the whole league go freaking berserk because this trade came out this week after Sunday.
Okay, everyone's pissed because you got Tyler Heineke. I mean, come on. They could have went and got Tyler Heineke. I mean,
well, he put him on a trade block, and I sent a message. What do you need for him? And as you notice here, he sent me the trade. I accepted the trade, and when I accepted the trade, the league chat blew up. People quitting, calling me names, just going berserk because I bought a quarterback.
Now, how do you know that he said it? Like, what shows you that?
So up here at the top of the trade offer, it says who actually made the offer.
Oh, okay. I never knew that.
So that one will tell you who actually made the offer, and so, I guess I always say I didn't send that offer. I didn't send that offer. I just accepted the offer.
Right.
And it was all I inquired about. What does it take? I didn't negotiate. I just said, you know what? If he's a starting quarterback, it doesn't hurt me to have another starting quarterback. And oh, by the way, the guy that really was squealing is the guy I played this week, who happens to have two quarterbacks on by.
He should have ponied up.
So I mean, I don't know. Like, right? I mean, now the price of Heineke became a first, a second, and a third, I guess. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. Like, that's what the price of poker is now. Like, it was more of a buy, so you can't beat me. Like, right? Like, that's the play.
Everyone's got their own strategies. I mean, I play in leagues where if I have excess quarterbacks, I mean, I try to get fair value within reason.
Well, do you want to give somebody 20 points to beat you next week? Or would you rather them have a zero in their spot?
In Dynasty, I'm a long-term thinker. To me, if I'm handing out a PJ Walker and he beats me,
well, no. But if you're playing them this week,
I try not to make trades with people I played this week.
Okay.
I try not to. I'm not saying I won't. I'm not saying I don't.
Right, but would you give somebody points when they have 0 points, or would you make them go get those points for somebody else?
I kind of feel the league out is if I don't, will somebody else?
Well, I don't know if somebody else will, and they can.
Well, but you got to know your league. You know what I mean? You got to know. I have a pretty good. I don't play in 75 leagues. I play in 4, 5, 6, whatever, and I know for the most part the people in the league and who's willing to part with players, and so I try to. If I'm like, oh, I'm not giving you this a quarterback because you're stuck, but I know there's another guy in the league that'll send PJ Walker for third, and he gets a third, and now I'm stuck with So it depends.
I don't think that's going to happen, but if it does, then that's the price of poker. But I don't think anybody else. I mean, I think I have 9 starting quarterbacks this week.
Well, that's a lot. So
I don't think anybody has any. I mean, somebody with an 0 for record could decide they don't want the points.
Right.
I don't know any of that, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I'm just not gonna. It doesn't make any sense for me to sell it for a third. Like, you know what I mean? Like or let it go for a second in this case. Like, you know
I
what I mean?
saw, I saw a starting quarterback this week for a third, but
Well, no, I'm saying, would you start a starting quarterback for a third to play against you when you right now you have them at 0 points? Like, I may as well put Pat Mahomes in and get take my 30 bonus.
Especially if he needs two, But
he has none. He has 0. So the one position's in a super flex. It doesn't matter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you can put Khalif Raymond in there and get some points. So that's not that critical. But the one where he'd have to put a quarterback. I mean, could he conceivably go get Taysom Hill and put him in there and get some points? Possibly. Like, there's some ways to go about getting it, I'm sure. And Taysom Hill's probably a cheaper buy that he could put in the quarterback spot for a week.
Oh, because he's QBTE.
Yeah, he's eligible, so you could fit him in there. You could jam him in there. You probably wouldn't have to pay a lot for Taysom Hill. But you know what? That's cool. If you can figure out how to go get it, I mean, that's fine. It's still better than me selling for kind of pennies or letting you go buy it for what I consider pennies. Like,
I mean, is Heineke getting to start? We're probably talking about that later in the show, right?
Well, we can talk. Arthur Smith said he's doubling down on that. He didn't play Sam Ritter because he still thought there might be something wrong with an injury. And Pat Kerwin on the NFL Network said that if it were him, he'd probably start Ritter on a short leash. I will say this: if you have Ritter shares, the next time he starts, it's time to get rid of him.
I was thinking about buying him.
Maybe. Do you think he's going to be anything more than a backup, though?
I don't know.
Who knows? He's not good. Yeah.
He's young.
Do you have any more trades? Or is this it? No, this one. Okay.
I saw this trade. I like it. As long as you don't have Brock Purdy. If you got Brock Purdy, I don't like it.
Well, so as you know, I don't in running backs. I don't do this either. I don't handcuff my quarterbacks unless I'm at the playoffs and there's no more trade deadline. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
And usually it's in best ball only that I handcuff my quarterbacks. And the reason I say that is I use my backup quarterbacks. So when you handcuff a quarterback, it is a real roster spot.
Yeah, it takes your roster spot. Absolutely.
You can't. So the reason I don't handcuff my rosters or my quarterbacks is these are all placeholders, right? Like, it's all about, do I want Braxton Berrios on my team or do I want Sam Darnold on my team?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if Waddle gets hurt and Braxton Berrios gets a little bit more run and I don't win him off the free agent wire, it ain't the end of my world. Like, I'll figure out another receiver, running back, tight end, somebody to play. Doesn't really matter. Like, I'll figure that out. But if Purdy gets hurt, somebody wants Darnold.
Oh, yeah.
There's somebody in the league that freaking wants Darnold. So I want that player. Now, if Purdy gets hurt and I have Purdy, do I want Darnold? It doesn't really matter that much because I have Trevor Lawrence to plug in there. It doesn't really matter to me. I'll plug him in. Like, I have enough of those kind of guys that Darnold's just an extra piece on there. And I drop him if I have no room. Like, if I have to, I kind of have these guys all rated. But like the backup quarterback Browning in Cincinnati, like, I probably have dropped him and picked him up about 8,000 times this year because, do I want the Cincinnati offense if Burrow gets hurt? Yeah. But if he gets hurt and he just happens to be dropped at the moment, then somebody's going to have to pay through the nose on Fab, and that's okay too because it still accomplishes the goal. And because there's at such hard premium times, it's not that big of a deal to me. You know what I mean? Like, I can drop him if I need to pick up a starter. Like, if I need somebody to start that week, I drop somebody. If it's my handcuff, I guess I feel like I can't. Whereas if it's somebody else's handcuff, then I can make a decision on how much or how little I need to squeeze them. But I might I could drop them Sunday morning and it's not the end of the world because I just stopped them. I've already stopped them for that week. Kind of thing. Like, I've already played it. So
yeah, your philosophy is
different than mine. That's okay. What was that?
Your philosophy's the opposite of mine, but that's okay.
Yeah, so that's kind of why I do it that way. Now, like I said, in best ball or in the playoffs, I might hedge my bets a little bit to make sure that I'm covered and that I don't have to rely on somebody getting outbidding me in waivers.
Yeah.
Like I might play it a little different, and I do change things up, and I kind of do that so that people can't follow the logic either. Really, they can't follow it if I do that. So is that our last trade? I needed I needed that. I needed 2 running backs, or I needed some
I
running
like
backs.
I like the trade. I like the trade.
So I was like, Gus
Edwards had a phenomenal game, so hopefully it helped you.
Yeah, I mean, it did get me a win. Kind of as we move on to kind of some of the other things. I mean, of course, everybody knows that I'm big on quarterbacks, and I did just break into why I do it so much. But I was adding them up here, and we're at 15 quarterbacks that are different than they were at the beginning of the season. So we've gone through 15 quarterbacks changes for whatever reason, since the beginning of the year. And it's a lot, right? I mean,
it's a lot. And then you start coming in the bye weeks, and it's tough on fantasy managers. I watch, one of the leagues I'm in, I got the quarterbacks. I don't hoard them. I do trade them. I'm fair with my reasoning and my offering, and it just makes for smooth league or whatever. But it's funny when people need quarterbacks. They're like, I need a quarterback. What can you do for me? And it's like, listen, I'm glad I'm not in those shoes, but I can tell you right now, when I needed a tight end, man, it was tough.
That's where I'm going with that. I'm sitting in some clownhead leagues, and I really need tight ends.
Yeah, they're tough.
I will have to overpay like a country fortune to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And so, would you do that? What would you do? What would you do to get a tight end? How much would you pay?
It really depends on my team. If I can win, see, I was kind of fortunate when I took over my orphan. It had one of the things that I really I looked into was draft capital. And right now you're getting to the point this part of the season where draft capital becomes valuable, right? Because teams are starting to figure out who they are. All right, I'm bottom of the league, I'm top of the league, you're this, you're that, we're here, we're there. In some teams are more, let me accumulate it now. Other teams are more like, let me get rid of it now. But you at least are at that peak of where draft capital is now starting to become more valuable than even players for some people. And we're at that point right now. And I was fortunate I had it, so I can go out and make moves and upgrade my team because I have a chance to win. But it really depends on your team. Like I paid a second for Jasicki, and I knew I overpaid. I knew I had overpaid.
Well, but I guess so I'm looking at one team. I'm 4-4, right? Don't have any extra draft capital, but I have my draft capital. 4-4.
Yeah.
I have my tight ends are Taysom Hill and Harrison Bryant.
What league?
Clown had to 1, so that's scoring 3 points.
So that's top teams playoffs, right? There's no top 6 make the playoffs.
Top 6 make the playoffs. I'm 4-4.
Yeah.
I'm not in the top 6, but I'm tied record wise with the top 6. So 4-4 is 6. I feel I have lots of quarterbacks. I feel pretty strong I have Bijan, Henderson, Akers. Those are my running backs. So nothing, not wonderful, but not
right.
Javonte Williams on bye, so that's that. Quarterbacks are really strong. Receivers, I have the whole freaking New Orleans Saints. I have Olave, London, Pickens, and Shaheed, and Rondell Moore. Like, I've got this team. It's okay, but it's probably a year away from winning, I guess. I mean, I don't know, but it's hard for me to just take the first round pick and go say, here, I'm going to give you the next 2 years worth of firsts and try to get Sam Laporta, because I'm not even sure that Taysom Hill and Sam Laporta move the freaking needle and get me money. And so then it's like,
Yeah,
maybe we'll just wait and see what the first round pick brings me. Maybe it'll bring me Zach Bowers and I'll be in better shape. Maybe I'm better off.
And you're right. That's what makes fantasy football great is you don't know. You know what I mean? If you knew, it wouldn't be no fun. And that's what makes Clownheads great is the lottery system with the ball. Like, listen, I got 4 first-round picks, and I'm thinking to myself, man, I want to go get myself Brees Hall. I want to go get I want to go get these guys and make a run. But yeah, I don't want to give up. I don't want to give up Marvin Harrison to do it either. You know what I mean? I don't want to give up Caleb Williams to do it.
Well, and that's it too. Even if the first round pick is Marvin Harrison, it didn't solve the tight end problem. But now I've got Chris Olave to go solve the tight end problem because I have 2 of these New Orleans receivers, and I can go solve the problem with so I don't even have to get a tight end, and I can still probably solve the problem. Mm-hmm. But the first round pick will allow me to solve the problem. Let's say that the pick is a quarterback like Drake May or somebody like that. It'll still probably solve the problem because now I have another quarterback, and now that makes Trevor Lawrence expendable or somebody like that, and now I can probably just shape the whole thing. Like I can go say, okay, I want Laporta and Brees Hall and I'll give you Trevor, and a first. And now I have some 2025 capital for, a big shot. And so that's kind of my theory. But I was looking, and last year I lost in these leagues. This year I'm 500 in these leagues. So I think I'm making the right incremental progress. Like I think I'm just slowly just kind of watching it come into its own.
If you're giving up a first for a tight end, it's got to be a Freiermuth. It's got to be a Laporta. It's got to be a Kincaid. Because even in Kyle Pitts, it's got to be somebody that is young and can give you quality year after year after year. Like to me, I love Travis Kelce. I think the world. I think he's a phenomenal football player, a great guy. Just to me, it's like, man, if I'm going to give up a first for him, 2 years from now, he's going to be out of the league or whatever. He's just going to be either that declining, or Pat Mahomes is going to be another favorite target, whatever, for whatever reason. And it's like, I don't know if I do it, and especially if I can't be in the money. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough.
That's what the value of the picks are, is the money and being in money. And I feel like Gronk was a really good tight end until he wasn't. And he was a Super Bowl, a championship fantasy winning tight end, and he retired like in a freaking 6 months. Like, he went from hero to zero.
Man, I tell you, the way from what I'm reading, and I don't know, true, Kelce wants to have kids with Taylor Swift and this and that, and like somebody's got to stay home.
Well, and football, I mean,
multi-billionaire. I don't think she's the one staying home.
Well, he's 33. Like,
yeah.
35. He's got,
he's got all the accolades. You know what I mean? He's got multiple Super Bowls. He's going to go down as top 3 tight end to ever play the game.
Yeah. Well, and I think you'll see that Travis Kelce will have 3 tight ends over the course of his career, even if they're all great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Tom Brady had many different receivers over the course of time. I mean, we forget Randy Moss was one of his receivers.
Oh, I didn't
and Edelman was a receiver, and Wes Welker was a receiver, and I mean, he had a lot of great receivers over the course of his run, and he outlasted all of them. So the quarterbacks always outlast the position players, throughout. And Calvin. Who's the Detroit Lions? Calvin Johnson.
Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't play that long either. I feel like Matt Stafford has outlasted a lot of freaking receivers over his time in the league. Mm-hmm. He's played with some freaking Hall of Famers. There, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. And we all forget how fast even like a Kenny Galladay type went from hero to zero in like a minute. So
all I had to do was sign at the Meadowlands, baby. He was all done.
Didn't take long, right? I mean, oh, geez.
Yeah, we got Daniel Jones. He'll throw the ball.
So, talking about quarterbacks, I guess that's a good segue in there. I hear Jones is going to play this week.
That's what I'm that's what I'm reading. Actually, hang on, my buddy just sent me a thing now. Oh, I'm hearing Daniel Jones is playing. Hoping, because I'm in the boat now where Purdy's on bye.
Well, but
Yeah.
I guess I think that this week Jones is back, Barkley's back. It's going to probably be a little bit more normal with, I think your tight end is going to be something. If you want to go buy a tight end, this is the
Danny
time.
Bellinger?
Yeah. You know what? When with Daniel Jones there, they'll pepper him 8 times. He'll get 8 targets this week.
Well, that game plan is going to be get rid of the football quick.
Right. Bellinger is a target monster,
Yeah. Yeah. No, he
Wandell, probably another guy that's going to get the ball a lot, like that's
so
the low ADOT guys will get the ball. But do you think they'll let Daniel run a little bit too. No?
I don't hedge my bets on anything with the Giants because their offense is so abysmal.
Well,
I don't want to start any of them.
Is the line back this week? They had a bunch of line injuries, and I think they're back.
Andrew Thomas was supposed to be back last week, and then game time he wasn't there.
Yeah.
So.
I think I'm hearing this week that the line is back, Barkley's back, and Jones is back, and so I sort of think this will be a little bit more normal. Like if as normal as the Giants are.
They're playing a terrible Raiders team too,
with
the exception of Max Crosby. He's pretty good, but yeah, what are you gonna do?
Were you surprised that Adams didn't get traded?
I'm not surprised. I just feel bad for the guy. You know what I mean? Like he's always just seemed like a good guy. Just always says the right things, and he don't want to be. He don't want to be there. You know what I mean? You don't want to be there.
Jacobs is even saying it's crazy. Like
what it all falls down to is the coach. Nobody likes the guy. Nobody can play for him.
Yeah, it's just it's
Fan
not
base
going
hates
well.
him.
Yeah, it's not going well. It's just not going well. And Jimmy G, are they going to start Jimmy G? Like, there's some rumblings that they're going to start the rookie this week.
Yeah, I haven't heard nothing yet, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean,
he looks horrible.
Josh's conference today, he said that he hasn't made a decision on quarterback yet. Now, I don't know what that means. Josh hasn't always been the most forthright with his media, so availability and what he says.
Oh, what are they, 3-4? I mean, it's not.
Yeah, I don't think they're ready to punt yet because they beat the Giants and they're 4-4, and it's hard to fire the coach.
500. I mean, 9-7 usually gets you in. 9-8.
Yeah.
So,
but they're just playing bad football. Like it's just kind of. But every team hits those walls. I have on my injury list Josh Allen. He's okay, or he was hurt in the Monday night game or the Thursday night game, and it's been so long ago. I think we forget.
Yeah, you're right. I thought I read that he was going to be all right.
Okay.
Yeah, because you're right. He went in the tent and then he came back out and played.
But then I heard after the game that there was some swelling or some. I mean, he's always tended to play, but I just put it in red because I thought, it's something to just pay attention to because what happens is people forget about that Thursday night game and it might be worth Kyle Allen stashes if there's room. Like seriously, like
I was going to drop Kyle Allen right before the game. You said wait till after the game.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Kenny Pickett looks like he's going to play Thursday. I mean, it's looking like. How about Gardner Minshew? Remember, he was hurt at the end of the game. Did he?
I think he's set to go.
Okay.
I don't think that was anything concerning.
What did you think of Will Levis?
Wow. So for the first 7 weeks of football, I was pissed off that you convinced me to draft Will Levis over Sam Laporta in a Clownheads league. But I did want to call and apologize after the other day.
So let me ask you this, and I'm just going to ask you this seriously, and this might be the day to do it, right? Would you sell Will Levis or could you get it? selling Will Levis for Sam Laporta and a second. I don't know, something like that.
I would trade straight even for Sam Laporta right now. I'd give Will Levis on a platter. Because
I think I would actually be able to get in a Clownhead league, where there's that kind of, where there's that 2 quarterbacks have to start or a 3 quarterback start, like those kind of leagues. I think right now with all the hype around Levis, I really think you could get Sam Laporta plus a little bit of something. And actually, it might be a moment in time because if Levis goes back and plays awful, then it'll never be again. I guess.
Will Levis came out and played and even got got the win, 2 touchdown passes, 200-something yards, maybe a fumble or an interception, but got the win and got 30-plus fantasy points. I think he would be in the chatter of going. But Sam Laporta is just from day one has been a top 4 tight end, top 3 tight end.
Yeah, no, I think Laporta is out of his mind, but what I saw from Levis, I don't know if he can continue that kind of a. But
boy.
It reminded me of, and you said that, hey, I talked you into it. It was more that I talked you into quarterback over tight end. Okay, like let's be honest, it wasn't the player. I actually drafted Levis, but not like I drafted him because I had that pick in the draft, not because I thought he was a good player. But it reminded me so much of Justin Herbert. So he just came out and freaking balled out. Like I'm just.
Somebody else told me that the other day. He was watching him remind me of Justin Herbert, and I chuckled because I remember you had said that. But I remember him being compared to Josh Allen. He's got that type of ceiling, but his floor could be,
awful.
Yeah, Russell. DeMarcus Russell, whoever just bombed out on him, and that's a true analogy. I mean, he could be. He looked awful in the pregame. I was like, oh my god! And then watching Sam Laporta come out and just light it up, I'm like, damn it, Ed.
but I mean, yeah,
he comes out and throws a 30 up in fantasy football and gets a win against the Pittsburgh Steelers Thursday night. You're talking. He could be this. He could be trending toward to steal the draft. I mean, for real NFL and fantasy football. You know what I mean? Because he went in the first round early in the drafts, but once those later drafts came, he was sliding mid-second rounds, and it could be a steal for people. It really could. We'll see. I mean, this is one of the first Thursday night footballs in a while. I am absolutely going to be glued to that TV. I can't wait to watch them.
Me too.
Can't wait to watch them.
This guy's. I mean, like he could come out and he could just get the film. Now we could have him on tape.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what?
You get destroyed. But I will be glued. I am very intrigued.
But then on the other hand, I say to myself, geez, I mean, he was dropping freaking dimes 40 yards down the field. Like, those were real NFL throws. Like, they were like just.
He didn't even step. He's just like,
okay. So, you know who he would remind me of that everybody's going to laugh and the guy doesn't have a job right now? Is he's got Carson Wentz in him. No risk it, no biscuit, Wentz was throwing dimes like that. Don't you think in 2017, Wentz was throwing dimes like that?
He's got we'll
and
see.
then the floor is the basement. The floor is the basement. It's terrible. It's brutal. And that could be the same. Like, it wouldn't shock me, but there was a time when you could sell Carson Wentz and he was like a top quarterback in the league. Like, he was a top 5.
Yeah.
So, it wouldn't shock me if Levis followed the same path of some sort,
I'm hoping he follows more of the Josh Allen path, but we'll see.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's putting him in a pedestal.
QB1. Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know if he mentally is lined up to be the QB1 in the league, like, or QB2. Like, I don't feel like he's
the one thing that he's got going for him that people don't realize. Or maybe they do realize they have to talk about. He's got one of the best coaches in football.
He does.
So in my eyes, he's got one of the smartest, most knowledgeable footballs coaches, and he in Vrabel. If you just don't turn the football over, he will have you a chance to win a football game. He plans, he prepares. His teams are always to me are playing at a higher level than their talent level, and that to me shows good coaching. And I think that when you're looking at developing a quarterback, look at what he did with Tannehill. I mean, Tannehill was in the gutters when he was in Miami. He goes over there, works for Mike Vrabel. All of a sudden, they're an AFC Championship team year
let's be honest. Mariota played his best football.
Correct.
For them. I mean, he was an all-pro football player, quarterback when they were using him. He was a backup quarterback when everybody else was using him. Like that. Seriously, like he left Tennessee and he became a backup. Kind of thing. When he was there, he's a Pro Bowler. He was. I mean, I guess you could say that about Mitch too, but same idea. But Mariota was thought of as a great quarterback too back when he was playing for Vrabel. Until he wasn't. So yeah, I get that. I'm looking here. Anyway, Jimmy G. I guess that was the last guy that looks like that. There's some. Oh, Watson. Are you expecting Watson back?
No.
I don't either. And
I think there's something mental up there going on, but that's just me. That's my own opinion. I don't really know. I hate to speculate, but it's something ain't right there. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know how every doctor can clear you. Multiple doctors can clear you. Basically tell you that they can't find anything wrong with you, and you can't even play. You can't play. It don't make any sense to me.
What I mean, when you say no like that, are you meaning week 9 or are you meaning?
I'm shocked. I'm shocked that they haven't put him on IR. That's just me.
Well, they put him on IR. Are they going to go get somebody else, or are they going to just go PJ Walker and just keep going?
I don't know. I don't know. Even when Deshaun Watson played, he hasn't done anything to show that he's any better than what they have in PJ Walker. I just think that same thing the Broncos are kind of feeling right now. Do we just piss away years of draft capital, $200-something million? And teams need to take a lesson from this. They guaranteed him all this money for I'm glad it's backfiring, to be honest with you. You know what I mean? And I liked the Browns. I liked when they had Baker and Hunt and Chubb, and they did it the right way. They built through the draft, and Baker gets them to the playoffs, and they say, "See ya, we're bringing this guy in," and I'm like, that's the most Browns thing that you can do. Yeah. Oh, hey, by the way, you brought us to the playoffs the first time in multiple years, and you're not good enough for us. We're gonna bring a sex offender.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, it make a lot of sense. Yeah, I can't follow all that. What about the most
Browns thing that the Browns could do? I mean,
yeah, I agree. What do you think about the Bears and Justin Fields and agent?
I think that they're going to kind of play out their season, hoping that Carolina continues to lose and they get that first pick, and wherever they are, they are. I think they're content with Justin Fields, but I also think that there's no way that they're passing Caleb Williams up. You kind of feel what I'm saying? If Caleb falls to their lap one way or the other through Carolina or their pick, they take him. Justin Fields is gone. If they end up with the 4-5 pick, I think it's, they go O-line and, Marvin Harrison if he's there, or, whoever, trade one of the picks and get multiple things in return. And, and I strongly feel like they think that Fields is their guy. They don't have the pieces around them. But I do think listen, if they got the 1 pick, they're not trading it. They're taking Caleb and they're trading Justin Fields. Like their fan base, any team that gets that 1 pick, their fan base will absolutely torture them if they trade that 1 pick. Absolutely torture them. I don't know if there's an exception. I don't know if there's an exception. what team in those bottom 8 teams right now is there an exception to? Maybe, well, I would say maybe Carolina, but that goes to the Bears. You know, and so I just think that that's the way that these teams are playing it. You know, and Caleb Williams has shown his flaws over the past 3 or 4 weeks in college.
Indianapolis. If Indianapolis, well, they're not going to go in the tank so far that they're going to get it, but
they won't get the one pick.
But no, they would not turn their back on their quarterback, but everybody else, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, you got the Bears that are down there, Carolina, which would be the Bears pick, the Giants.
With the Giants.
Yeah. Yep.
Pick Caleb.
Uh-huh.
They figure out a different.
Yeah, and think about it, and then you could bring them in the right way. Daniel Jones is our starting quarterback because you got to realize most of Daniel Jones' contract is this year, next year. So really, I mean, you're paying him $50-something million to prepare.
And they could even put him on the Aaron Rodgers program. You know,
but I tell you, no,
2 years of Daniel Jones.
You can't. You got to win when they're on a rookie contract. But I tell you what, you know, you're not going to find
year 5. You know, yeah.
You're not going to find a better mentor than Daniel Jones for New York. Sure. You know, this is how you act. This is how you behave. This is how the media is going to be. This is, you know, how you perform. This is your work ethic. This is where you show up. This is, you know, this is how you become a professional. And you can say what you want. Daniel Jones, whether he's a good football player or not, he's a great professional. You know what I mean? He's a stand-up guy. Never once has he called out, hey, my offensive line sucks. Never once has he called out, hey, Saquon Barkley, you know, I gave to him 20 times. He got me, you know, 33 rushing yards. Never once has he said anything. It's always been, I need to play better. You know what I mean? And you just, that's a guy you want to teach your next quarterback. If he's not going to be the quarterback, you want your next quarterback to jump. Now, you want someone with a little bit more fire, a little bit more leadership. Yeah, you know, but that I think Caleb Williams is getting that now in college. So,
and what other teams are down near the bottom? That I guess the Raiders, Denver,
Patriots.
They're all taking him. They're all taking him.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not one of those teams that with that first pick overall that if they don't take them, their fan base is destroying them.
Yeah,
they can have that pick the first day after week 18. after week 18, they can have that pick. You know who it is. You know who you got. You know, and then it gets interesting. You know, from there, but we'll see.
Yeah, it will be interesting, and so I guess if you're in one of the Clownhead leagues, but if you're in a 2 quarterback league, I think that it's coming. Like, I almost hate to say this because I do think that every league has its own economy on trades, but I think that the fantasy player for the most part doesn't understand the positional value of players. And, you know, I think back to the old days when people used to chuckle when you know, I would teach people, hey, you got to draft running backs. You know, you can never have enough running backs. Well, today you can never have enough quarterbacks.
Right.
And I do think that the fantasy industry in general has overwent into the wide receiver realm now to a point where I've honestly drafted some heavy receiver teams, and I'm kind of unhappy with them all. Like, I don't have a team that I went heavy receiver on, and then I say, oh, geez, this is a let's go team.
Right.
I do see, you know, Brad. He's a very heavy running back guy.
He is, man.
And I mean, he kind of got that from me, I think, over time, and he wins with those running backs.
Brad is a very good fantasy.
I mean, and I was talking with one of our mutual friends today about a league that he's in with Brad, and you know, it's kind of an old man league where they meet live every week.
Yeah.
And Brad's in first place, so it's his first year in the league. It's a redraft league, and just kind of was chuckling in my head because in that league you're kind of capped on every position, and so you start 2 running backs and you have to have 3. Well, Brad's 3 running backs, even in a salary cap endeavor, Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, and Christian McCaffrey. So he gets to pick his 2 of 3 from that mess every week. And I would tell you that even though there's, I think, 9 people in the league, there's nobody that's going to beat his running back room any week ever. Like just ever. They will never beat his running back room. Like this week with a bye week, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Like he just fires up the other two.
Jonathan Taylor out there.
Yeah, he just and he can just fire up 2 of the 3. It doesn't really matter which way he goes, and if they get hurt, it's not that big of a deal either. He just fires up 2 of the 3, and he just is able, and that got him the first place. I mean, I don't know. I mean, he went a little bit stars and scrubsy with his 2 quarterbacks. He only start 1. I think he's planning to go with Kyler eventually as his quarterback, and so he kind of thought that made sense. Who am I to tell him it doesn't? I don't know.
He's in first place.
Yeah, I mean,
do what you do.
I mean, if you were to tell me that Kyler's going to be a top 5 quarterback, he could be. He could be when he starts playing. Like, it doesn't sound that outlandish to me, to be honest. Like,
well,
probably. I can see it, and so I think acquisition costs. And so I guess I'd say that quarterbacks in our situation. And the other thing is, I think we brought out with the trades I made, people are hasty when they make trades. They just are just. Yeah, what do you and I know why you got rid of this player, but you made a trade this week that I kind of said I don't think I would make it at this time. How do you feel about it today? How do you feel about it today? Probably don't like it, or maybe I don't know. What do you think about it?
So I traded Gabe Davis and what projects to be an earlier 2nd round pick for Jacoby Myers and what's projected to be a later 2nd round pick. I was just looking for a little bit more consistency out of my wide receiver. Gabe Davis was too sporadic. The games where he got 1s and 2s, and of course I go get Jacoby Myers and he gives me a 3.9, or whatever it was, 4 points or whatever, 1 catch for 19 yards, and I was when I moved on from Gabe Davis, I was kind of hoping to get away from that. Like if Jacoby Myers would have gotten me a 10 or 11, I would have said, you know what, I can live with that. That's part of the okay. You got me 11 this week, but next week I can get me 21. But at least 11's my floor. So yeah, it does sting a little bit that right after I trade him, he's kind of fallen off. But that's fantasy football. You know what I mean? You go based on what you got in front of you, and the numbers say, to me anyways, Jacoby Myers, with the targets that he was getting his role in that offense, he's not a bad football player. He really is not he's not a bad football player. And I was just playing the numbers, and I'm not saying it doesn't bite me in the ass. I ended up winning this week, but it was because of McBride. You know what I mean? He went off. I had him in my starting lineup. It had nothing to do with Jacoby Myers. And if I had Gabe Davis in my lineup, I would have won before Monday Night Football even started. But that's fantasy football. You can't win every trade. And as much as I trade, you don't win them all. But you got to win more than what you lose.
And I wasn't. I guess I did be clear. I wasn't saying the trade doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
I was like, why don't you wait until after Thursday night and see what you see with Gabe Davis?
I wasn't waiting.
Just wait a week, because let's see if Devontae Adams gets traded and now Myers is a 1. Let's see what that whole offense looks like and what because so where my theory is so I believe that Gabe Davis could be a number 1 in a Buffalo offense without very many things happen. Diggs injury, he's the number 1. Diggs moves on after this year, he's the number 1. At minimum, he's the number 2 in a good offense. That's kind of where we are right now. Like that's where we sit right now.
I don't know. I don't know if I necessarily agree with him being a 1. Maybe, Dalton Kincaid, his shares are picking up.
Well, Kincaid's
Shakir, you see Shakir, and he actually led the night in receiving. Shakir, and I know they were high on him when they drafted him. You got this Deontay Hardy coming through. I just think it's Diggs. Here's your chunk, and then everyone else is going to facilitate their points.
Why I said that though is more that like they gave him the captainship. They basically said, "Hey, let's negotiate a long-term deal." they're sort of putting their money behind Gabe Davis. Now maybe that'll all change at the end of the year, but that's where they are today. Like I said, okay, they're really invested in this. Where I thought Jacoby Myers is good as long as Josh McDaniels is there, and I'm not sure how long Josh McDaniels is there because the next guy will have his own flavor of the week, probably.
Could be. Because
in the old guy, with the other guy, he was very content to have Hunter Renfrow as his guy. Like, like they were content with that whole shenanigans. Now all of a sudden, Hunter Renfrow, who had 1,000 yards receiving 2 years ago, is a zero in this in this offense because he doesn't. For whatever reason, he hasn't clicked in the offense. Like he doesn't get the offense. Like it's kind of weird. Like it's just kind of weird. Like he's dropping passes and it's just dumb. Like it's not. But Devontae Adams is dropping passes too. So there must be something to with this whole thing. Like I don't know what it is, but it's just weird.
Yeah.
What's going on, and so, and I guess that's more what I was thinking. Now I'm the first guy to say I have lots of Myers shares, so it's not like I'm anti-Myers and I love Gabe Davis. I was just more like I just think I want to see more before I do it. Was more my thinking. And so I go back and say, the trades that I get more. I've yet to find that I say, man, I wish I would have made that trade. I so much more say, what was I thinking when I made that trade? Like that.
I don't have that feeling yet.
What was that?
I don't have that feeling yet.
No, on that one, yeah. No, I would.
For me, if Jacoby Myers can have a bad week,
they all can have a bad week.
Adams had a
terrible week.
But Devontae Adams had one catch for 11 yards yesterday. It wasn't just Jacoby Myers. It was the Raiders.
I was kind of laughing. Like if I have a team where I had Gabe Davis on the bench in a league that you run, Dan, and I lost by a point or less than a point, and I started freaking Devontae Adams. So obviously the points are on my bench, but there's no way in God's green earth that I'm going to start Gabe Davis over Devontae Adams. So you're just not doing it. So it doesn't you just gonna do it every time, and I get it that you just do it every time and you just lost. I
couldn't believe you lost. Dude, you had like a 99% chance to win.
Well, 1 for 11 is a heck of a.
You lost by what, 0.2 with 3 points? Crazy.
Yeah, and I was playing against Josh Jacobs, and he went freaking off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know what was really funny? When Jacobs fumbled and Myers recovered it, there was 0 points there. If anybody else recovers it, then I get -2 and I win. So I'm like, obviously this isn't going to go my way. Like, because I'm like, he should have a fumble, and then I looked, fumble recoveries is what matters, not fumble, or fumbles lost matters, not fumbles. I'm like, okay, well then I'm going to lose. So that's pretty funny.
Crazy.
All right. Well, we'll wrap up our week. Good luck, week 9. Jeez, it's getting late. It's getting late early. It's getting late early. And 9, 10, 11. Do all of your playoffs start week 15, or do you have anything that starts earlier than that?
15.
Okay. I have a league that starts in week 12. So
I got one that starts week 16.
What was that?
Well, I got one that starts week 16.
Oh, okay.
My league, I think 16, 17, right?
16, 17. Yeah, so I've got one that starts in week 12 and then one that starts in week 14. That really feels stupid to me. Week 12.
I like to at least get by the buys. Get your best team versus my best team. Whether who's hurt or not, but at least there's nobody on buys. Let's go play football.
Well, I'm not going to be in the playoffs for the one that starts in week 12. I sort of sold away my players. That league I'd been 11-11 2 straight years, been in the playoffs, both of them, but didn't win. So it was kind of like an exercise. So this year I went and got 2 extra first-round picks. So I've got 3 first-round picks, and we'll see what happens with it. I got guys like Cordell Patterson as my running back. So hopefully there's some running backs come out in the draft, because that's what I really need to go get. But
we'll see.
Some trades, here in week 9, week 10. Like this will be the time that I actually make trades.
So figure out who we are.
So, yep, we'll convene next week and enjoy a week of football. And
Yeah.
we'll talk on the other side of the buys.
All right. Good night, man.
Good night.